The organisation My Vote Counts is deeply concerned by the revelation that the Electoral Commission is facing budget cuts of almost 800 million rand over the next 3 years. The group says this has the potential to undermine the Electoral Commission's ability to carry out its mandate, saying this is a threat to democracy. We're joined now by Letlhogonolo Letshele, the Electoral Democracy Researcher at My Vote Counts. Letlhogonolo, good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. How significant are these budget cuts for the IEC?
Good afternoon, Stephen. Thank you so much for having me. Look, this is a 800 million budget cut for over a period of 3 years. What we're particularly concerned about, is how these budget cuts could possibly, undermine the IEC's ability to deliver on its mandate, particularly to manage free and fair elections, to maintain the voters' role, to declare election results. So essentially this becomes a threat to democracy when the IEC cannot do, or perform its constitutional obligations.
The IEC is actually going to face more contestation than ever before, I would suggest, probably since 1994. In 2024, we all know it could be a very close election. It's very possible that certain provinces actually change hands in this election, which means there are likely to be more and more fights, more pressure on the IEC at exactly the worst time, as it's losing money.
That could be one of the issues, but I think that I think I lost your question, Stephen. Could you please repeat it for me?
My point, sure, was in 2024 we're going to have very intense elections. We know how important these elections are going to be if we look at the political situation around us, as the IEC will need more resources, not less resources at that time.
Absolutely. The political climate is quite intense, and most importantly is the electoral amendment that's currently on the table. You would know that it kind of changes the electoral system to allow independent candidates contest national and provincial elections. So as you would imagine, this process requires a lot of money. There needs to be voter education around it, logistics, changing of constituency demarcations and so forth. So our concern is that this is going to cost a lot of money. So it's quite an awful time for the IEC to be experiencing budget cuts related to the bill that's actually going to change the electoral system come 2024.
The IEC does many things around an election. It's not just about, running election stations and counting elections and having electoral officers at each of these stations. Prior to that, it does things like monitor where parties are getting their money.
Absolutely. One of the items that would be...
Go on.
Absolutely. The network is quite bad. The second voter registration will be affected. Remember, the IEC before elections, they do a voter registration weekend where people get an opportunity to register and you learn about where to vote and how to vote. So if you're going to cut such an important process, it actually limits the number of people that actually can register to vote and eventually turn out to vote. So this is quite a serious threat.
Letlhogonolo Letshele, thank you. An electoral democracy researcher at My Vote Counts, an important story. We know how important the IEC is to our democracy.